All right, good evening, everybody. Just give me a thumbs up. Let me know you can hear me okay, please. Let me know if the sound's okay. All right, thanks, Chuck. Appreciate it. All right, so we'll go ahead and join palms as we begin. You can repeat after me. I take refuge in the Buddha. I take refuge in the Dharma. I take refuge in the Sangha. Keeping the palms joined. And putting the palms down. All right, good evening, everybody. Thanks for being here. I always like to start with a question just to give people some time to settle in and show up for the meditation. Also gives you an opportunity to communicate with each other. So the question I have for you tonight is pretty open-ended, but feel free to share whatever you'd like. How has Buddhist practice or meditation impacted your life? And if you are new to joining us, welcome. There's a chat box there somewhere on your screen. Feel free to type that in. Again, how has Buddhist practice or meditation impacted your life? And if you're maybe here for the first time and just starting, and this is like day one, and so you wouldn't really have an answer to that yet, maybe just share what is the reason that you chose to explore Buddhism or meditation. So I'll go ahead and type that in here. How has Buddhism and meditation impacted your life? If brand new tonight, what is the reason you are exploring Buddhism? See, how has Buddhism and meditation impacted your life? If brand new tonight, what is the reason you are exploring Buddhism? So pretty, like I said, pretty open-ended, pretty broad question. But I think it's something that's really important for everybody really to reflect on periodically. If nothing else, just to remind yourself of changes that have occurred in your life, hopefully for the better. Sometimes Buddhist practice can bring a little bit of pain with it, as you start to wake up to the reality of things as they are. That can be very difficult, can be very challenging. So Buddhist practice, as I talk about a lot, isn't always a simple, easy thing. It's incredibly difficult and requires tremendous amount of discipline and non-attachment. So those things are not fun. But the side effect, as I like to refer to it as, is really living a kinder, gentler, more peaceful life. And we all can get there different ways. So when we gather in person, a question I often ask is, why are you here? And that's an opportunity for us to just reflect in our own minds and our own hearts, why do we show up to practice? Again, whether it's your first time or you show up consistently, what's the reason that we keep showing up? So always good things to look at. Let's see here. Brian and Linda, much more calm, not boiling over as much. Also helps me stop and think before acting. Yeah, definitely. Taking time to reflect prior to responding, to kind of pause a little bit really helps. Chuck, Buddhist practice has helped me better understand how my mind works. Yeah, definitely. It's becomes kind of this mirror in a way, just a reflection, looking back and getting to know our thoughts and our words and our actions. Virginia, this is day one. Welcome. I always like when people are brand new, even though it's virtual and it's tough to really see or know who I'm even talking to, but there's still kind of that feeling of excitement, of nervousness, of exploration that I think is, for me, really motivating. And I think with the Dharma Bums, one of the driving factors that has always inspired me so much over the years is really helping people who are brand new figure out, like, okay, what is this all about? What is this Buddhist thing? Let's see. So this is day one for me, but I've started getting more consistent with meditation, and I have found it very centering. So I want to explore meditation more deeply. Yeah, definitely. And I think one thing that hopefully will simplify this for you a little bit is, and it's very common, for people to say this, and even people have been at it for years, the idea of exploring meditation more deeply. My suggestion is I wouldn't be so concerned with exploring it any deeper, actually just continuously practicing it. For me, this has been, 20 plus years, 18 years every day doing a meditation practice. And I don't sit down thinking like, okay, well, today's going to be a better or deeper or stronger meditation, or, I'm going to sit for 6 hours today. Like each time you sit, you're just sitting to sit. And there's a great text, Zen Mind, Beginner Mind, and it's really about approaching everything as if it's your first time. So for me, that's why I love people on day one, because when you begin to explore Buddhism, you don't know anything about it. And that's really fun and exciting. And then you get more and more into it, and you start learning more and exploring more and asking more questions. And then we start to think and try to figure stuff out. And that's also where we can get ourselves into trouble. So beginner's mind is really wonderful. But as you mentioned, Virginia, the getting more consistent, that's really the key. Just stay consistent with it. And I think you'll find and continue to find probably tremendous benefit from it. Amy, I'm less reactive. Yep. Janelle, it has forced me to take daily alone time and has also kept me grounded in times that I'm struggling being alone. It also makes me more aware of my actions. Yeah, similar to Amy's response of being less reactive, more aware of my actions. When we really focus or pay attention to our actions, it can be quite startling sometimes. It's not always fun to recognize that our actions are not always kind, that maybe they're selfish, or maybe they're greedy, or maybe they're angry. When we begin to become aware of these actions, it's eye-opening for sure. So, but when we observe them, hopefully as we become aware, we slow down. At least a tool I know I can use to sit for even a minute and refocus. Also, I notice more awareness in starting this practice. That is one of the biggest changes. Yeah, awareness is key, similar to what Janelle, Amy, and really everybody is saying here, is that you just become aware. Chuck was talking about being aware of how your mind works. Well, the mind is, that's the center of everything. Everything comes from our mind. So when we become aware of our mind, we begin to make changes. So awareness is really critical. The mindfulness, mindful of present moment. Denise, it's made me pay more attention to my thoughts and how to redirect them. Yeah, definitely. I shared this the other day with someone that, this practice, each person is different, but it's not always necessarily going to drastically change your mind and your thoughts. If your thoughts have been negative for 40 years, 6 months of meditation and reading Buddhist stuff isn't automatically going to change your mindset or your thoughts, I should say. But what does change is your ability, as Denise is saying, to redirect them. So you could have unpleasant thoughts, but that doesn't mean you have to have unpleasant actions or unpleasant words. So that awareness of these thoughts really is critical. So, all right. Thanks all for sharing. With that, we'll go ahead and we'll start the meditation practice. A few things I'll tell you before we begin. Nothing's going to happen to you. You're not going to float away. You won't have any mystical, magical experiences. Your mind won't shut off, won't stop racing. Right? Often we think that meditation is about going blank or thinking nothing. You'd end up sitting there telling yourself, think nothing, think nothing, think nothing. And it's just a waste of time. As we get up and go do something. Don't judge your practice. Often we will judge meditation. Am I doing it right? Am I doing it wrong? We just want to sit and breathe, right? Don't expect anything. If you're waiting for some grand aha moments or some deep realizations, you're probably going to be disappointed. We're just going to sit and we're going to breathe. Posture, you just want to be comfortable. If you're on a cushion, help slide into the front third. Pushing the stomach forward allows the back to straighten. Shoulders are relaxed. Hands can be on the knees or in the lap. I'll guide us as we begin, and we will settle into a little bit of silence. Most important, as I said earlier, don't expect anything. And starting with the eyes closed if comfortable, or slightly open. Mouth open or closed. We'll start with taking 3 deep breaths, slowly. And eventually, settle into a natural rhythm of the breath. Noticing the mind as it wanders, jumping from thought to thought. We'll start with gently guiding the attention and focus to the stomach or chest. Breathing in, feel them rise. Breathing out, they fall. Simply continue this practice, observing sensation of breath, expecting nothing but to sit and breathe. And as the mind wanders, lost in thought, recognize it, release that thought, return attention, focus to the breath. Where's your mind? Lost in thought, return to breath. letting go of expectations, letting go of judgment from the practice, just sitting, breathing. Keeping the mind alert, aware of each sound, each thought, each physical sensation. Yet concerned with nothing but sitting, breathing. Learning to be comfortable in stillness, in quiet, wanting nothing but to sit and breathe. And with the body still, rested, and the speech quiet, aware of all sounds, and the mind learning to settle, know what it's like to just sit and breathe. Knowing with each breath, there's nothing else to do, nowhere else to go, no one else to be. Everything beautiful, exactly as it is. Sitting, breathing. Once again, taking 3 deep breaths, slowly. And as you slowly open the eyes, slowly begin to move. And most important, with the practice of meditation, is to recognize how you feel now, immediately after. Compare this to how you typically feel throughout your day. Recognize the difference, if there is one. And ask yourselves how you'd prefer to feel every day for the rest of your life. And realize however you feel now, if it's quiet, calm, and still, or a busy mind, racing mind, whatever you're sitting with at this moment, has nothing to do with anything I said. It's nothing to do with how we sit and hold the hands across the legs. It's not from the sounds around us or anything else for that matter. It has everything to do with your own mind and your own mind's reaction to an external condition. This is what the Buddha called pratitya samuppada, means dependent origination. This is the basis of the Buddha's awakening. The word Buddha simply means awakened. He was a human being no different than anyone else who began to understand why he suffered, why he got angry, sad, depressed, stressed, anxious. He began to understand the causal relationship of all phenomena. What that means very simply for all of us, regardless of where you come from or what you believe in or where you think you're going, your whole life is filled with things that happen and we react. More stuff happens, more reactions. That's it. Practice of meditation is simply learning what it's like to respond to something quietly, peacefully, still. And for most of us, the way you responded to the last 20 minutes is quite different. from how you respond to everything else that's happening throughout your day. So really the practice of meditation isn't about getting better at meditation. It's not about anything happening to you during meditation. It's not about having some grand realizations from meditation. It's actually just showing you what a mess you are the rest of the day. When we sit quietly and we breathe and we attempt to hold attention on breath or the flower or a candle or with a guided meditation, whatever it may be, we're allowing ourselves to settle. We're allowing our mind to learn to train what it's like to be present. What we're doing the other 23 and a half hours of our day is allowing the mind to just run around crazy. And then that crazy mind pulls us with it. So that crazy mind has us running all over, physically, verbally, emotionally. And this is why, for me, the meditation practice is really quite simple. And that's what the Buddha taught. Anapanasati Sutra, he said, if breathing in and taking a short breath, know you're taking a short breath. If breathing out and taking a long breath, know you're taking a long breath. Meaning just become aware of sensation of breath. And that's all. It really is that simple. And what this allows us to do, like I said earlier, is then recognize what we're like all day. And it's usually not like this. So once we stop trying to change, fix, control, manipulate everything around us, and we work on changing our mind and our reaction to the world around us, life gets simpler. Meditation is free. Buddhist practice is free. It's sitting, breathing, becoming aware of what you think and say and do. So with that, I'll pause. I always prefer really just to turn it over to questions. Meditation, Buddhist practice, anything you're sitting with, I'd much rather respond to your questions. So again, if you're new to joining us, welcome. There's a chat box there on your screen. Feel free to type in your questions or thoughts, and we'll use the rest of the time for that, and I'll respond. Thoughts, questions, meditation, Buddhist practice, anything you're sitting with. Yay, no questions. I always like when you've all figured it out. Let's see. Virginia, can you comment on the comment you made at the beginning? I take refuge in the Buddha. Who are the other three? Yeah, for sure. So just to kind of put it into perspective, that's what's called taking refuge in the triple gem, or the three jewels, as Buddhism refers to them. And to clarify, and really breaking this down for you or anybody else who's not familiar with it, is first you have to look at the word refuge. Refuge means different things for different people, but when we're in a group and I throw out the word refuge, the words often that come back are safety. When I ask, what does refuge mean to you? Safety, comfort, protection, community. So this idea of refuge, protection, you have to explore what refuge means to you, because if you're going to take refuge in something, what does the refuge mean? So safety, comfort, protection. And then we look at what are the three. The first one is the Buddha. But I want to point out here that the taking refuge in the Buddha does not mean taking refuge in the Buddha himself. The Buddha, Siddhartha Gautama, he lived 2,500 years ago, 500 years BC. He was a prince. He left home at 29. He wandered the base of the Himalayan mountains for 6 years. At 35, they called him the Buddha, the awakened one. And he taught for 45 years. And then at the age of 80, he died. So we're not taking refuge in him. He is gone. He can't help you much, right? So what we're taking refuge in is what's called bodhicitta, or Buddha nature. And bodhicitta lies within all of us, meaning that we all have potentials to awaken to our Buddha nature. The Buddha was a human. He woke up, he ate, he slept, he went to the bathroom, he did all the things that we do. No different. So if Siddhartha Gautama, who they called the Buddha, awakened to the cause of his own suffering, then we recognize that we too can wake up to the cause of our own suffering. So I find a lot of comfort. For me, refuge has a lot to do with comfort. I think I said community earlier, I meant comfort. A lot to do with comfort. And so I take comfort in the idea that I can figure out how to reduce and or end my own suffering and awaken to my bodhicitta, my Buddha nature. So that's the first one. The second one is taking refuge in the Dharma, Dharma. Dharma is the teachings of the Buddha. So I find safety, I find comfort, protection in the teachings, right? Protection from what? So if I constantly act out of greed, anger, and ignorance, then I'm going to suffer a lot. I'm going to cause a lot of suffering. If I constantly act out of generosity, compassion, and wisdom, then I'm going to suffer a lot less, and I'm going to cause a lot less suffering. So for me, with taking refuge in the Dharma, this one has a lot to do for me with protection. I'm protecting myself from harming myself, and I'm protecting myself from harming others. So I take refuge in the Dharma. The third one, excuse me, is taking refuge in the Sangha. Sangha at the time of the Buddha was the monks and the nuns and the disciples. Modern day, it's a group of people that come together to meditate, practice. Sangha is community. So I find safety, comfort, and protection in the Sangha, in the community. I recognize that as a practitioner, and for each of us it's different, but as a practitioner, I hold myself accountable because I'm part of this community. I'm part of this Sangha. And that inspires me, that motivates me, that keeps me going on this journey. Because if I recognize that this practice is for the benefit of others, that's very inspiring. So again, the three are Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, taking refuge in the triple gem. So hopefully that's helpful, Virginia. It can also, a lot of times when you first hear it, it sounds like, that you're looking at the Buddha to save you or to take refuge in. And like I said, only you can bring yourself joy, and only you can bring yourself misery. So the beauty of this is the choice is ours. Do we want to be miserable or do we want to be happy? And that's up to you. So, all right, Amy, just dealing with the ups and downs or the unskillful moments, any advice on moving forward? So, yeah, I mean, the beauty of moving forward is you're already doing it without knowing it. You've already moved forward from the moment you ask the question. I've already moved forward from the moment that I read the question. You're always moving forward, whether you want it to happen or not. So, knowing you and I understand the nature of the question, advice on moving forward skillfully is to continue to recognize, as you say, the ups and downs of the unskillful moments and really work on discipline. We can be really lazy with our minds. And if we can adopt a deeper level of discipline with our practice, it will cause the ups and downs to balance out, meaning less ups and less downs, but just steady. You may have heard me use this metaphor before, but for me, I look at, most people, our life is like a roller coaster. For me, my entire life was a roller coaster, huge highs and huge lows. It's really exciting going all the way up and then just crashing down to the bottom. And that's our life. Our entire system is set up that way. This isn't for everybody. I recognize it. It's different for each person, but the general structure of our society is let's have this Monday through Friday week that everybody's just like trying to get through just to get to your Saturdays and Sundays so you can have these highs to crash back down to go through your week to get to Wednesday. We have a name for it. We call it hump day. It's like, it's just, to me, the dumbest thing in the world. We have a day in the week that we've given a name because it's helping us get towards the end of the week. We have another phrase, TGIF, like as if once Friday's done, then our whole life begins on Saturday. And then it ends on Sunday. And then you're back to Mondays and everybody hates Mondays. Like we're just stuck in this ridiculous system. And that's the sad part. That is the matrix that we're stuck in. And for me, the reason I talk about discipline is that if we can discipline our minds to make wiser choices, the ups and downs go away. And you become, back to my original metaphor, which of the roller coaster rides, is it's more like the kiddie ride. If you've ever taken a 5-year-old kid on a ride at Disneyland, you're not going up too high and you're not going down too low. You're not going too fast. It's not that exciting, but nobody gets hurt. And I look at Buddhist practice as like a kiddie ride. That's not for everybody. I get it that, again, from personal experience, my life, existed around the rush of the highs and then the crash of the lows. And for a very long time, I convinced myself that it was worth it, that it was worth the misery just to have those high moments. And I just lied to myself over and over and over again, and just thought that if you had more stuff and had more money and had more people and had more things, that you could just justify the misery. But for me, the ups and downs went away or decreased, and life really began to change when I had the discipline to stop doing things that were causing harm. And that's not easy to do. So you're moving forward anyways, and just continue to try to find discipline. Amy, I hope that helps. All right, Lisa, maybe any thoughts on using the practice to help with self-doubt? Yeah, I mean, this is an easy one because the Buddha taught that there is no self. So there's not even a self to doubt. So that goes away. But to respond in a way that might be a little more practical and beneficial for you or everybody really is when we doubt ourselves, and this kind of ties into the teaching of non-self. When we doubt ourselves, we're doubting the story that we're telling ourselves. We're not even doubting us. There is no us. Us is just an illusion. It's a story. We're saying, I am Jeff, and I'm this age, and I live in this city, and this is my experience, and this is where I come from. These are just things, stories. And when you doubt yourself, you're doubting the story that you made up that you're not good enough. And that whole thing is just an illusion. So going beyond this, well, again, I use the word story, but going beyond the story that you're stuck in requires one to realize that you are not that person that you're telling yourself you are. And if you can realize this, then self-doubt goes away. You're not the person you're telling yourself you are. If 10 people who know you describe you, they'd all describe you differently. And then if you described yourself, you would describe yourself differently from the 10 other people. So there you have 11 descriptions of who Lisa is. None of them are right. They're all just ideas, imaginations, stories, perceptions. You are constantly changing. It's what the Buddha taught. Everything is impermanent. Most of all, us. We are here for a brief moment, whatever our life may be. So why waste it judging yourself, critiquing yourself, telling yourself you're not good enough, right? I mean, I get it. A lot of people grow up, being told they're not good enough, being told everything is wrong. I understand that. But that's not who you are. Those are things that have happened. And now you're stuck in the story of being like some 10-year-old kid who was always told you're not good enough. Not easy to break through these things, but again, that's what the practice is about. Right now, in this moment, you are just a human being sitting here at 7:52 staring at a screen. That's it. We are simply our actions. So hopefully that's helpful, Lisa. The last thing I'll say on self-doubt is a lot of it really, and again, this kind of gets into the psychology of things, but a lot of it really has to do with this attachment we have to other people's opinions and views and judgments of us. Meaning, you wouldn't doubt yourself if you didn't think other people were doubting you. You wouldn't think poorly of yourself if you didn't think other people thought poorly of you, because that concept wouldn't be there. If you stop comparing yourself to other people, you wouldn't doubt yourself. I talked about this maybe 3-4 weeks ago, but how we have this goal or image or idea of who and how we want to be. And so we're constantly comparing ourselves to someone or something else. And if we drop that comparison, if we drop that label, if we drop that story, then we're just who we are. So don't let others' views and opinions of you, they got their own mess to deal with. So, all right, I'm going to close on that. Great questions. I hope that's helpful to get you all started. We'll go ahead and we'll join palms as we close. We'll do what's called a transfer of merit. May any merit from this practice gained be transferred to those who suffer. May all beings be at peace. May all be free from suffering. May we all be free from suffering. All right. Thanks all for being here. Again, my name is Jeff. I'm a Dharma bum. We opened up the temple 14 years ago to introduce meditation and Buddhist practice to those who show up. 14 plus, almost 15 months ago, we closed due to the pandemic. So everything we do is online, virtually. Our full schedule is up there. Just go to the website. We actually updated the schedule. So we used to use the Google Calendar, and we went away from that for now. So the schedule, I think, is actually a little bit easier. But everything's online. Everything's still free, as always. Recovery classes, morning meditation, Monday through Friday. Always something happening. Buddha for You also closed. If you need anything there, you can also go on the Buddha for You's website. If you need any books or anything, that's there. We don't have plans to open yet. We know that it's coming relatively soon, but we are still very cautious. We're still being very mindful and aware of what's happening. And so while we are in discussions about opening soon, we don't have any plans yet. So as soon as I know, you will know. But please be well, stay safe. This pandemic is not over. It's still very real. Please wear a mask. People are still dying. So let's all be safe and do what we can to make sure we don't bring any pain or suffering to others. So thank you all.